I just feel like with this, I couldn't have won. This chap has decided that what he's going to do is go into Google, Trustpilot, Facebook, and my own website and leave a rather cutting review. It just takes the wind out of your sails. This is unfortunately what happens when YouTube and business cross paths. Honestly, it's the sort of thing that makes me want to stop it. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to the channel, and you are sat watching a broken man this week. It was bound to happen, so I do a bit of a weekly update at the moment, talking about what's happened in my used car dealership over the last week, and we've had a bad week. There's been some wins, but there's been a lot of fails this week, and it's been a long time coming, to be fair, because the last sort of few of these I've been doing, it's all been going remarkably well. However, nature of the beast in used car sales is it's good when it's good and it's rough when it's rough, and it has been a rough week. What I'm going to do is talk you through cars we've bought, cars we've sold, wins we've had and fails that we've had, and we've had some pretty bad fails this week. And then I'll also talk about what's happening in the automotive news that might interest you and certainly interest me. So welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me. And let's just start off with a couple of positives. We've had a couple of wins and a couple of cars sold, kind of, this last week. When I say sold, we haven't sold any cars this week. I'm being a salesman to myself about this one. So we have officially now got a deposit on the 911 Turbo, manual, beautiful car, 28,000 miles. It had an inspection from a guy called Nick, who's very well respected in the industry. He came out, looked at the car, had a couple of questions that he wants answering. So we took it over to Strauss, which is an independent Porsche specialist in Leeds, for them to have a second look at the car. Everyone's happy with it, and crucially, the customer is happy with it. So it looks like that deal is going to go ahead next week. He has paid his deposit, and that looks like we've got one, should we say, nailed on. It's not a nice term to use, is it? But that is positive, but it's not a deal done this week. Another deal that isn't done this week, but is also a positive, we've also got a Porsche 968 in stock. Had this in stock for a while. It's a bit of a Marmite car because it is a non-sport automatic 968. However, incredible spec, excellent provenance, 3-owner car, etc., 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 and it is beautiful. That we've received a deposit on from a lovely chap who is, wanted a bit of a negotiation on it, but it's on sale or return, that car, so we could go back to the owner and have a bit of a back and forth. And it looks like we've got to a number that he's happy with, and we've sent him a video of the car and he's happy with the car. So he's looking to come in next week, but we just want to make sure we've got it absolutely polished to the nines. So that's going to go through the process as well. So unfortunately, no cars really sold. Been struggling to buy stock at the moment. However, I've managed to get some deals nailed. So we bought a beautiful Audi S4 from a subscriber of Joe at Shifting Metals channel, but actually subscriber of ours as well. Lovely car, mega spec, that's come through, landed online now. We also bought an E53 Estate, gorgeous car. It's not Cavensite blue, that colour, but it is very close to an old spec of a C63 I used to have. So admittedly, I paid a little bit more for it, for anything but nostalgia. So gorgeous car, porcelain leather. It's got a pan roof, premium plus, everything you could possibly want, low mileage, lovely service history, and a really, really nice guy selling it, a guy called James. Another guy called James sold us the S4 actually. So two beautiful pieces of stock have now landed. So I'm happy with that, because if you've been following the channel, you know that we had an absolute flurry in sales, and it's meant that we've got a load of empty spaces in the showroom that we are trying to fill. And I'm going to go on to that in a second. We also bought a Mini, so I'm going to go through that as well. So we bought a Mini from a subscriber called John. Lovely bloke, drove it all the way up from, I keep wanting to say Dover, but it wasn't. It was Dorset, miles away. But that car is a proper minter. I'm going to talk about that as well, because it actually ties in with some of the bad stuff that have happened over the last week. If I'm sounding deflated, it's for good reason. I'm coming to it and I'm putting it off. But let's talk about the wins that we had, because there were some positive stuff that actually happened in the last week. So Carmora officially went live. Carmora is a buying site that I've been working on with a mate called Paul, who's a industry legend as far as I'm concerned, and he can get cars into the motor trade, selling on to other dealers for good money, because he's got the right contacts for the right cars, and it's a little black book that he's built up for years. Now, basically, I'm getting offered loads of cars from subscribers at the moment, which is great, and I love it. A lot of them I will retail, but some of them I won't. So we're getting Carmora to sort of broker that and essentially try and get the right money paid to a customer, the right money sold into a dealer, and we can take a little bit out of the middle. You've got yourself a business plan. It's essentially what every other platform operates like, but we're doing it more personally. So that's officially launched, and we have done a few deals through Carmora already, so there'll be a link in the description below if you want to have a look at it. But that's kind of exciting and a new direction for what I'm trying to do here, because the retail stuff is bloody hard work. I don't know how dealers that aren't thinking about other opportunities at the moment are keeping their feet on the floor, because it is so rough, so difficult trying to find stock and also trying to bloody sell it at the moment to the right people that don't cause you headaches. We'll go on to that in a second. So we hit 60,000 subscribers last week, which is pretty amazing to say the least. In fact, just tipped over 60,000. So a massive thank you to anyone who has subscribed to the channel. So they were all amazing things that happened last week. And then unfortunately, we had some pretty annoying stuff happened, but some pretty cutting and scathing stuff that's happened as well. So I'll kind of talk you through the little things that have gone wrong. So we've got a Fiat 500 or an Abarth 595, whichever you want to call it, which came in, I bought it on part exchange, had a bit of a misfire. We've got a specialist looking at the car at the moment. And the last I heard from him was photographs of inside the engine. We thought this car was going to be an engine mount or hopefully something easy. And he's ended up having to rip the head off it. Oh, so I can only imagine what that's going to be like. Now I'm waiting to hear back from him. Hopefully going to pick that up next week with some luck. And I'll give you an update as to what happened there. The big question is whether or not the person knew when they part exchanged it. I suspect probably not, but there's, you know, people do part exchange problems into us, which we had on another car. So we've taken in a Hyundai, which I don't normally like to buy, but it was on part exchange. I gave the earth for it in order to sell the other car that we were selling. These things happen sometimes, you overpay for stuff. The car looked fine, it was a bit bitty, so it needs a pair of tyres, a couple of the wheels are scuffed, it needs a service, needs an MOT, usual sort of stuff you expect. But what I didn't expect with that car is when I drove it around the block for the second time, I did test drive it when it came in, for the engine light to ping up immediately. And it would appear it needs a knock sensor, which is part of the AdBlue system, and it would appear, from my opinion, that can't have been the first time that engine lights popped on. So we have been shafted, I think, there by somebody who promised to leave us a 5-star review and was over the moon with the car that he bought from us. However, has definitely shafted us with the part exchange. And would you believe it, the 5-star review hasn't appeared. I suspect he's probably gone to ground. Anyway, nature of the beast, I still think there's enough profit in it to certainly get out of it. We could put it through Carmora and sell it on to another trader, but at the moment we're struggling for stock, so we're just probably going to put that car right and go for it. Okay, so going on to what's been the worst part of the week. And actually, to be fair, this is unfortunately what happens when YouTube and business cross paths, and honestly, it's the sort of thing that makes me want to stop it. So we have received a 1-star review from, I suspect, not a subscriber, but somebody who's seen the videos on YouTube. So we buy cars from subscribers. We buy them directly, and we buy them sometimes through a car dealing business that I've set up with Paul. You might have seen the video called Carmora, because some cars are for me and some cars aren't for me. Now, we got a phone call from a chap, and I won't mention his name because I'm not that sort of bloke, and he was selling a Porsche 911. Now, it's a 997, which are the ones that have got bore score issues, lots of other issues, and they're just a bit of a car that you've got to attack gently. We did a video about buying one recently that we didn't end up buying. We're still waiting for service history on that. Please, can you send us the service history? And we'll have a look at that properly. Anyway, he'd seen that video and was offering us a far superior example. And I argue it actually was a far superior example. However, it was higher mileage, it was not the best spec on the planet, and he'd spent a lot of money on this car in maintenance. That's all you need to know at this stage. He called me when I was busy. I explained to him I'm interested in the car, but I'm busy. And then he called me a couple of days later. I was still busy because it's the week. I don't know if you saw last week's update where I was literally filming constantly all week. It was that week when it came in. Anyway, I said to him I'd look at it on Friday, and I didn't. So I made a balls up there. I should have dived on that car straight away. To give you a bit of an idea, yesterday I got 20 calls on my mobile phone and 19 emails. So I am regularly sort of inundated with just all sorts of stuff because we've got so much stuff going on. And that's fine, it is what it is. I work late nights, there's all sorts of stuff going on. I don't mind it at all, but sometimes stuff slips through the net. This slipped through the net. Now, unfortunately, rather than chasing me again, or rather than just thinking, you know what it is, maybe A, the car's not for him, or B, he's busy, so sod him, I'll give someone else the opportunity. Whatever it might be, this chap has decided that what he's going to do is go into Google, Trustpilot, Facebook, and my own website, and I think leave a rather cutting and I think unfair review. And I'm going to read it out to you and you can tell me what your thoughts on it. And I've got different options as to what I could do about it, but as it stands at the moment, quite frankly, it's taking the wind out of my sails. And if you were doing this because you wanted to be in the spotlight, well, hello, you're now in the spotlight. If you're doing this because you wanted to attack me personally, well, I feel personally attacked, so well done, you've done that. Or if you're doing it to get it off your chest, well, I'm hoping it's off your chest now. So this was the review that I received one morning. He'd actually left it at 2 o'clock in the morning. I assumed he was drunk, but it would appear he wasn't after the conversations that followed. So I contacted Robert, seeing his YouTube videos where he makes a huge point of reaching out to subscribers to buy their cars. I don't really make a big point about it. However, I do mention it, and we do videos about buying subscribers' cars, so I guess that's probably fair. Unfortunately, the decent chat persona on screen doesn't match the reality of his business. That really hurts. But anyway, you said it. After the initial phone call where he seemed interested, I sent over all the photos as requested and then silence. I had to chase him for 2 days just to get an acknowledgement. I mean, you chased me 2 days later for an acknowledgement, but yes. And when I finally reached him, I was told he was too busy. Presumably filming more content, but he would have a look at it on Friday. I was too busy at the time. Apologies, these things happen. It's now been a week and he's completely ghosted me. Another way of saying that would be he's not got back in touch with me yet. But anyway, no message, no call, nothing. It's baffling how you can find a time to drop a YouTube video every single day but can't find 30 seconds to reply to a genuine business inquiry. We don't drop them every day. We drop them twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. But anyway, it's kind of balled that up a little bit. Fair enough, he needs to say what he needs to say. If you're looking for a YouTube celebrity, Rob's your man. Thank you. But if you're looking for a professional car dealer who actually values people's time and follows through on his word, that really hurts, you know, because he's trying to sort of say I'm a liar there, or I'm ingenuine, or disingenuous, whatever the term is, or you know what I mean, like I've not got a moral compass or I'm ethically right, following through on his word anyway, he said what he said. I suggest looking elsewhere. He seems more interested in being a creator than actually buying and selling cars. Truth be known, I'd much rather be full-time on YouTube than dealing with the general public buying and selling cars. I think any car dealer that's on YouTube will say the same. Look at Joe at Shifting Metal. He actually decided one day that he was going to stop buying and selling cars and just do YouTube full-time because it made more sense. So you're probably right there, mate, but I still run a car sales business, and it is a professional car sales business that usually gets nothing other than kind reviews and positive feedback because I genuinely do the job properly, which is why this really hurts. Avoid if you value your time. Now, unfortunately for me as a business, I don't push for reviews, and by the way, if you're watching this and you subscribe and you like the channel and you genuinely believe in the sort of person that I say I am, because I am, especially if you've actually been in and met me or spoken to me on the phone and had a proper conversation, then you'll know that this doesn't make any sense. But I'm not asking for reviews, so that genuinely this is not a cry for help for other people to go and bang a 5-star review on. I woke up the following morning to read these reviews that had been left at 2 in the morning, assumed the man was drunk, then struggled to find who it was because there's nothing here sort of telling me who it was. He'd left it as a just set up a Google profile to do it, which hurts, but also he'd left reviews on other forums and I could work out from his other reviews who he was and what car he was selling. So got back in touch with him and said, look, I've read these reviews this morning. Sorry it's taken so long to get back in touch with you. It seems a little bit harsh. Is there anything we could do to appease the situation? Ideal situation for me is, look, if you want to leave a bad review, leave a bad review, but can we at least make it fair? Anyway, he didn't want to talk. I offered to speak over the phone, wanted everything in writing, which just seems a little bit bizarre, wanted to be very formal through the process, and oh, that's fine, it is what it is, but I'm just a bloke buying and selling cars. I'm not a big corporation, but did everything in writing. He basically said, and I'm happy to share this, but I won't, that if he receives a valuation, he will adjust his review accordingly. Now at this point, I'm thinking, I don't really want to value your car anymore. I just don't want to, because this just isn't how I operate and how I like to be treated. However, and I spoke to Tim about this, who works here, and I spoke to a couple of other mates about this. What should I do? How should I tackle it? And everyone said the same thing. Just give him a valuation on his car. So I valued his car through a third party because it wouldn't be for me because, and don't take this the wrong way if you're watching, you want the best spec in the world. We try and sell stuff with really good spec if we can do, so I knew it'd be hard work to sell. And you'd mentioned you'd spent a lot of money on maintenance in the last 9 months, or 10 months or whatever, which is a bit of an alarm bell for any car dealer. So I got it underwritten, took a bit of time, got it underwritten. Headline figures. We Buy Any Car offer, so what they suggest they'll pay on that car was £14,700. The book price on that car was £15,000. This guy wanted £27,000. There's obviously a little bit of a discrepancy between those numbers. And we came in and what I thought was a fair underwrite of £21,000 for the car. I thought that, and explaining that, would appease this chap. But no, he's updated his review. And somehow, it's got worse. It just takes the wind out of your sails, this. So I'll show you his update in a second, but I mean, this is a direct opposite to the other things that we get in feedback-wise. So we're raffling that Mini that I mentioned. So I've got Mini Cooper S, we bought a subscriber, absolute minter, cracking car, took me ages to find it. We're raffling it off for a £1 ticket. And the reason we're doing it is, well, lots of different reasons. Obviously, business-wise, we'd like to make some money on it if we could, but also it's good fun for me to be able to drive these hot hatches. It's a good deal for the guy that we bought the car off, but also we've got a subscriber called Keith who's sadly terminally ill with prostate cancer. He wanted to talk about the fact that the reason he's in this incredibly unfortunate position is because he didn't get checked out soon enough, so we're trying to relay that message on, and he didn't know it, but what we're trying to do is with some of the proceeds of the raffle is actually pay for a trip away for him and his missus. Now we have received a influx of emails, calls, incredible comments, all saying what a fantastic idea it is, and I'm dead proud of myself for coming up with that one. And what a lovely thing it is to do for Keith, and it's massively raising awareness, and for a lot of people it's hitting them in the hearts and hitting them in the feels, because this is something that's affected them. It's affected us in our family. So you get all of this wonderful feedback for something that you're trying to do, and there's a link in the description below, by the way, but then you get feedback like this. This is this man's updated review. Final update. After a week of chasing, week of waiting probably would be fairer, Rob finally responded with a bid. Unbelievably, he tried to justify a low offer by comparing my specialist car, it's certainly a specialist, to a We Buy Any Car valuation. A platform he knows perfectly well is the bottom of the market and irrelevant for an enthusiast car with a clean bore score report and thousands spent on maintenance. Now, bore score report, for those of you that don't know, these engines have got problems, and you need to get a bore score report on them to make sure that basically the pistons haven't corroded or eaten away into the cylinders over time, which a lot of them, especially of these age, are faced with. So bore score is really important. To be fair to this chap, he mentioned it right at the start, I've got a clean report from when I bought the car, which was 9 to 10 months ago, after a lot of money spent on maintenance. So when I came back with the offer to him, I did say we need a clean bore score report, again, within the last 6 months or 500 miles, because it can just appear. Anyway, the reason I mentioned We Buy Any Cars is because we're £6,300 higher. Anyway, apparently I'm using it as justification. It's now clear that this reach out to me pitch on YouTube is just a lead generation tactic. Not true, it's a byproduct of what we do. And he isn't buying the cars himself. I buy a lot of cars myself. I've literally just talked about the cars that I bought from subscribers this week. He's acting as a middleman for third-party traders. I've been very clear that I do that, whilst using his decent chat persona really hurts to try and secure cheap stock from trusting subscribers. And again, the way that he's written that makes it feel, or makes it look like I'm trying to take advantage, which anyone who sold me a car knows I'm not. Daily YouTube uploads clearly take priority over professional communication or fair dealing. I think when you come in with a rubbish review, it's hard to be fair after that, isn't it? Although I still was. If you value your time in your car, avoid the YouTube celebrity hype and go to a professional specialist who actually understands most trade experience. 1 out of 10. I just feel like with this, I couldn't have won either way. I feel like even if I'd have dived on this straight away and given him the valuation, which by the way hasn't changed because of this review, even though his suggestion on his messages were, if you give me the valuation, my review will be amended, would suggest he potentially wanted a favourable valuation on that car. Potentially. But who am I to suggest that? It's just, I feel proper deflated by this, because we genuinely on this channel, anyone who subscribes know that we just try and do the right thing. We try and have a laugh here. I think the problem with this bloody world that we're living in is it is doom, gloom, misery, everything going wrong, everyone trying to shaft each other, you know, everyone trying to make as much money as possible, corruption, capitalism, everything else. And all we are trying to do here, genuinely, is have a bit of a laugh. So we talk about stuff that's gone wrong in the dealership, we have a laugh with cars, we have a laugh with the staff in here, we all trying to just enjoy it. We don't make a lot of money as a business, we don't make a lot of money off YouTube, we don't make a lot of money brokering cars to other dealers, but it all adds up to make it something that is potentially enjoyable for me and my guys, as something that we want to do for a living, enjoyable for you to watch. And in the meantime, we do some business and we act professionally as a car dealership. And I think everyone can see that on the videos that we put out. This bloody hurts. Now, I've got options as to what I can do. I can report it. We've got all of his contact details because he left reviews on Trustpilot and his name's clearly visible there, so I know exactly who it is. I've got all the details of his car. I could ring every Porsche dealer in the land and talk about his car. I could be really underhand with my response with this. I've spoken to my legal team about it. They said that yes, you could start to look down the legal avenue because what he's saying in here is not actually true in many respects. There's lots of different things in here you can point out and say are inaccurate. Go down that route, but can I be bothered with that? I mean, they're happy to start the proceedings for free because I've got them on monthly retainer. I could do that, but I don't want to do that. I have no issue with someone leaving negative feedback. I genuinely don't. If he'd left a 1-star review saying, I offered a car to Rob, he said he was going to get back to me, and he didn't get back to me, I'm really disappointed, what a waste of time. I could deal with that. But when you character assassinate me online, I just don't understand it at all. In news, we move on quite quickly. Amazon is apparently launching a used car proposition in the UK. They've been doing this in the US for a while now, and they are going to go toe-to-toe with Auto Trader, they say, by the end of 2026, which is scary because it's good news to have another big player coming in and taking on what is essentially a monopoly. However, I'm not the biggest fan in the world of Jeff Bezos, whatever he's called. I'm a massive fanboy of what he has done as an entrepreneur. I think it's incredible. And also the fact that he actually owns quite a small percentage of Amazon because he's had to dilute it in the way that it's built. Incredible what he's done, incredible. But what I don't like is the damage that he's had to small businesses. So there are businesses that I know of that are trying to just compete as a small business, and then Amazon have come in and gone, well, you can have it tomorrow delivered to your door, and it's a little bit more or a little bit less or whatever. And people just do it because it's easy, because we're lazy. I'm lazy. I've got some stuff coming through today from Amazon. We're all guilty of it. But it worries me as a car dealer that they're going to try and get into our market, because again, what they're already talking about in their proposition is they will provide warranties, they'll provide their own finance, all this other sort of stuff that just isn't going to be the right outcome for the customer. And unfortunately, the people that will take the flak for that is the little used car dealer sat on the other end of it. So, but it's just all bad news this week, isn't it? So that's going to be coming in at the end of the year, we suspect. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like. I suspect what they're going to do is the usual thing of making it look really cheap and really attractive, like they did with Amazon Prime, because I wanted to watch Grand Tour, and then start charging you for advert space or whatever it is. So that is scary, and unfortunately, the world that we're living. I've got a mate, a guy called Sam, who's coming in next week to have a bit of a conversation about what he's doing to tackle it using AI and this kind of fantastic tool that he's got, which is really interesting. So he's going to be talking me through that, and in turn, we'll be talking you through that. Anyway, thoughts on what I do about the review? Leave it, reply to it, report it, go legal, all sorts of other things you can do, or just move on. Thanks for joining me. Bit of a deflated Rob this week. I should be a happy Rob at 60,000 subscribers, doing fantastic stuff for charity, with a missus who've just been away with, and a baby that's finally standing on his feet. And then the wind gets taken out of your sails. Welcome to small business in the UK. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.